let me tell you a little bit about Kamala Harris. Everybody loves Joe Biden's pick. I mean, loves. For instance, the ever-reliable Al Jazeera, everybody's favorite American news outlet, says Biden's choice of Kamala Harris as a VP candidate is unprecedented because Harris brings youth, race, gender, and prosecutorial skill to the Democratic ticket versus Donald Trump. Al Jazeera loves her.
Do a lot of candidates not bring a gender to the campaign? Is that common?
No.
I don't know. It seems they seem to think that's notable that she brought a gender. I didn't know that was a big deal.
Yeah, Donald Trump, smooth as a Ken doll down there.
Oh, really?
You know what I'm saying? Yeah,
I didn't know.
Smooth
I've
as a
never
Ken
heard
doll.
anyone ask him about that.
Yeah, George Bush, smooth as a Ken doll.
Wow.
Ronald Reagan, look at him. I mean, he looked plastic. You know what I'm saying? NBC News says Kamala Harris is a pragmatic progressive. CNN gushed about her and her Indian relatives helping shape her views on civil rights and civil duty. Now, there is a minor difference between her and what the press had to say about her and what the press had to say about the announcement of Mike Pence in 2016. Vox called him an extra awful choice. Vice wrote a piece entitled Mike Pence, Trump's VP pick is pretty damn homophobic. While the URL says everything you need to know about Mike Pence's homophobia. They complained about his status as an apparent culture warrior. Little did we know the entire left would unite to tear down statues and pull photos off of pancakes and rice packaging. You know, they're not culture warriors at all, and don't even think about that. And that's important to remember because the Democratic convention starts next week. And with that said, Stu is bringing us the 5 things you need to know about Kamala Harris.
Yeah, so this one's This one's technically not on the list, but it's Kamala Harris. You had this during Kamala. The primary. You had it nailed, and now we've reverted back to Kamala.
How come? Yeah, how come did people know her as Kamala at the beginning, or have I just always screwed it up?
I think the original just people read the name and said Kamala, so it was Kamala for a while. But it was all. I mean, when she became somewhat prominent in the primary, we actually decided to actually figure out how to pronounce it. We nailed it. We had it Kamala throughout the entire primary. Then she went away.
Okay.
We've reverted back to Kamala here.
Yeah, okay.
So it is
because
it is
stopped
Kamala,
caring,
not Kamala.
Quite honestly.
Yeah, no, who cares, right? So the New York Times did this, and kind of on the front that you were just talking about, they announced the Kamala Harris VP pick as breaking news. Kamala Harris of California is Joe Biden's pick for vice president, a pragmatic moderate. She is the first. She's the first black woman on a major party ticket. So the first number one thing you need to know about Kamala, she's not a moderate.
She's not a moderate.
No.
Number one, she's not a moderate.
No.
Okay.
Some people seem to actually think she is a moderate, and I think that stems from the idea that she's a moderate compared to, let's say, AOC. Right? She's a moderate compared to Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders. That doesn't mean she's an actual moderate. Yeah, right. Like, you throw her in the middle of the Soviet Union population, maybe she's a moderate. I don't know.
She's a moderate. Right? She's a moderate,
Totally.
She says these gulags are wrong, you know? Yeah. Okay, I got it.
She loves communism, but is just mild on the gulags. She's a moderate.
Right, okay. Okay, I got it.
Harris has a conservative review score of 20%, a lifetime FreedomWorks score of 18%. Those are not good. Those are not moderate numbers. The DW Nominate score is sort of the academic approach to this, and it's even less charitable than the conservative organizations. They have a sort of a spray graph here of all dots in an oval, and you can look around and try to find Kamala Harris. You can see her circled if you're watching Blaze TV. She is almost all the way to the left of the chart. According to DW Nominate, she is, quote, more liberal than 99% of the Senate and 97% of the Democrats in the Senate. She's only to the right of Elizabeth Warren, the only senator she's to the right of, and she's actually in between Warren and Sanders, according to DW Nominate, which is the academic approach to this. That's really hard to do if you are not Karl Marx yourself. If you're Karl Marx, you're probably in about the same position.
So number one, she's not moderate.
No.
Number two that you need to know about.
Yeah,
Kamala Harris.
And it's Kamala. She is not.
Kamala.
You're never going to get this right again. She is not pragmatic or moderate. She's definitely not pragmatic either. The sell from the Times of Kamala Harris was that she's pragmatic and moderate. Well, she's not pragmatic. The Kamala Harris brand of pragmatism is just her ability to keep a straight face while constantly changing positions. So it's like you could say she's pragmatic because she moves to the point, that makes things, of course, it's pragmatism coming through. It's not. She just does whatever she has to say to grab more power at the time where it's appropriate.
So some would old-fashioned people might call that just political lying.
Yes. But if you're the New York Times, you could call it pragmatic.
Pragmatic.
If you remember her stance on Medicare for all, she first said she would support it. And then she signed on to Bernie's plan that would make private insurance illegal. Then the very next day, she took that back and said, I didn't really hear the question. Then she said she was going to go back to a transitional plan before the final switch to a government system. And then she was back to allowing some private insurance. It didn't make any sense at all.
Well, she's fluid. She's fluid.
She was Medicare for all fluid. You're right.
Yes, that's where she is.
That would be a better sell than pragmatic. I love because it didn't make any sense at all what she was trying to do with Medicare for all, which led to a headline from New York Magazine, not exactly a right-wing source. The headline was, Kamala Harris's Medicare for all plan makes no sense. I love this quote is fantastic, Glenn. If you took Harris at her word, her legislative plan for 2021 would be to first pass a law massively cutting middle-class taxes, then pass a second law radically increasing them.
That sounds like the Democrats.
Yes.
That sounds like Washington. Yeah.
It does.
Okay. So the second thing is she's not pragmatic. The third thing need to know about Kamala.
Good job.
Yeah,
We're 1 for 3.
All right, good.
Okay. She is not on the ticket to help with the black vote. Everybody keeps saying this. This is a fundamental misunderstanding of the pick. A lot of activists did demand that Biden pick a black woman to be his vice president. And it's possible, of course, part of that he was caving to that pressure. But that's different than thinking that Kamala will help with the black vote. Joe Biden doesn't need any help with the black vote. He was Barack Obama's vice president. And when he ran twice, he won, I think, 96 and 92% of the black vote. The only reason he's the nominee at all is because he was rescued by black voters in South Carolina.
Remember, you're not really black if you don't vote for Joe Biden, according to Joe Biden.
Right. And look, he constantly says things like that, which would make you think maybe he needs some help. But the help cannot come from someone like Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris, when she was running for president, she was polled, this is November 2019, before she had dropped out. She was a black candidate in a majority black primary, and she was at 4% of black voters. 4%. Do you know what she had among white voters? 4%. Now, this is obviously way behind Biden, who had 44% of black voters. But it was also behind Bernie Sanders, who had 8%.
And he is not relatable at all. Not relatable. He's not relatable to most white people.
I mean, he did have a gangster rap album in the mid-'90s. But other than that, he is not exactly a cultural fit.
So he with double the numbers than Kamala.
Elizabeth Warren, obviously has a deep connection to all African-American communities.
Yeah, of course.
She was at 10%, as well as Tom Steyer, who was also at 10%. Tom Steyer, the whitest white guy in America, had 2.5 times the support of Kamala Harris.
His campaign was like running the Country Time Lemonade guy.
Right.
And he's 6 points higher than Harris is.
Yes.
Okay. So why did he pick? If it's not because of race, why did he pick?
The number 4 thing you need to know about Kamala. She's in it for the money. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that she's in it to personally enrich herself, although that will be a side effect. I mean, that's definitely, of course, she's in it for the money like every other politician. But the thing about Kamala Harris is she brings in the cash. At one point in the campaign, she had twice the amount of Clinton, Obama, bigwig donors as anyone else in the race. She has a big bank of cash in California. huge supporters there that funnel money to her. Unlike someone like Elizabeth Warren, who's pretty good at raising money, she can raise money from big tech because she's not constantly talking about shutting big tech down. So big tech loves this pick because she's not a threat to big tech.
Right.
Biden, on the other hand, is notoriously terrible at raising money. Remember when he won when he came in second in Nevada and he was winning in South Carolina, he was not even able to put ads on television because he had no money. He was completely out of money when he started winning these primaries. That's why so many people thought he was done. He was out of cash. He had nothing coming in. That's understandable, right? You're a big donor. You go see Joe Biden. You take out your checkbook. He starts drooling on it. It doesn't give you a lot of confidence to write that check.
You're like, can I hand this to somebody else? Because I'm not sure you're even going to remember that I gave it to you in a little while.
Right.
But yeah, I got it.
Biden's kind of strength is the hand-to-hand combat, right? You're sniffing hair. You're in there. You're rubbing people's shoulders. That's the type of campaigning Biden wants to do. Can't do it this time. He needs someone to bring in the cash, and that's why he brought Kamala on.
All right, number 5, the 5th thing you need to know about Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris needs to stop her surrogates from saying this. We have a clip here, and I want you to listen to it. It's from ABC News, and they're just talking about the clip, and obviously, I think it's Heidi Heitkamp, who is a Democratic senator who's now doing analyst work. And so they give you the kind of setup of, the pick and everything, and listen to her argument towards the end of this.
Is this a tough pick to deal with if you're President Trump or Vice President Pence?
Oh, absolutely.
I can't. Let me tell you, you could not find a better 180 degrees off Mike Pence than Kamala Harris.
Joe Biden and the Democratic Party have been overtaken by the radical left. So given their promises of higher taxes, open borders, socialized medicine, and abortion on demand, it's no surprise that he chose Senator Harris to be his running mate.
Mike Pence, old school, I don't want to be in a room with a woman who's not my, mother or my wife. Kamala Harris represents everything that Mike Pence isn't.
Okay, here's the problem.
She's going to be in a lot of meetings alone with Joe Biden, I'm thinking.
Yeah, here's the thing. You can make fun of Mike Pence for a lot of things. However, if you're Kamala Harris, you don't want to make fun of the Mike Pence rule. To say that, I don't want to be a woman, I don't want to be in a room with a woman who's not my mother or my wife, that's so old school. When you're making the argument for a woman who actually had an affair with her superior while on the job. This is, if Willie Brown had the Mike Pence rule, we'd be talking about Susan Rice today. That is...
She's also working for somebody who has been accused of groping and sexual harassment, and she said she believes those accusations.
That's right.
She should always insist someone else is in the room.
She should be wearing like a body cam, like a police officer.
And perhaps his sweet wife, Jill, should ask for the same in return.
Yeah. I think that's probably a good idea. I mean, it's such a weird thing in this Me Too moment that the Democrats are going to put on the ticket a woman who absolutely benefited from an affair with a powerful man more than twice her age, Willie Brown, back in the day. I don't know if this is like, there's hashtag Me Too. Maybe this is hashtag Me Too Part 2. Sometimes it works out great. Because apparently you can get, look, you should never have to deal, kids, with sexual advances from your boss unless they're going to work for you, and then you're going to be really excited about it and use it all the way to the White House. That is a weird message to send in 2020, but it's one apparently they're comfortable with.